Hi, I'm Dan, and welcome back to the Rock Nerd Radio Show here on YouTube. Today, we are taking a look at the complete Marvel Legends X-Men Nemesis Build-A-Figure wave.
Come geek out with us on the Rock Nerd Radio Show.
So we're going to start this review off by looking at Cyclops as he appeared in his X-Factor uniform. I like X-Factor, but I'm not really interested in this figure. As a matter of fact, I only got this figure for the Build-A-Figure part. A friend of mine said he wanted this Cyclops, said I could have the Build-A-Figure part, said I could also have the Blast Effect, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But he also said I could show it off on this review. So I opened him up, took him out, and I figured I'd show him off real quick. So there's not a lot of sculpted detail on this figure. It's mostly just a flat figure with the paintwork on it. And the paint does look good. The yellow X really does pop. Everything seems pretty symmetrical. And the head looks good too. It wouldn't surprise me if we got a like Dark Phoenix Saga era Cyclops if they just reuse this head, because I think it would work. And there's another head that I'll show you in a little bit. But, this figure is on the Vulcan body. So if you've messed with that, you know exactly what you're getting in terms of articulation. He can, look up and down. Head can go left and right. Arms are going to spin all the way around, as well as a butterfly joint. They also go out that far. They have a double elbow, which is also pinless. And at the wrist, we spin and go left and right. Moving down to the body, we do have ab crunch, which this looks a little unsightly when you bend him back. Now, I don't know if you're really going to be bending Cyclops like this, but it does look a little weird. Forward like that, and the back not as bad as the front, but just something to point out. Waist, of course, will rotate. Legs will kick forward that much. Both legs will kick out that much, so he does have a bit of a split going. Of course, we do have full rotation at the thigh. Double jointed pinless knee, so he can actually kick his own butt. Moving down, it does have boot cut, which is something that the rest of this wave is severely lacking in. And then, of course, the foot, because of the forward-facing pin, moves up and down, and you do have ankle rockers. So not a whole lot to say about this Cyclops. And the reason why my friend wanted it is actually because of the fact that this is the costume Cyclops wears in the Infinity Gauntlet story. There is a slight change to it, though, and we're going to get to that in a little bit. But just to show you what the Cyclops comes with, he does come with the Cyclops Optic Blast firing hand, which could also be a bit of like a command point hand, or just like, finger guns, pew pew. And there's also the open kind of, it's not even a grip hand, it's just an open hand for the right hand. Cyclops also comes with this head. It is an angry, screaming head, and you can see how there is no red visor here, because you take this nice big blast effect and you plug it on in, and it looks something like that. It is a bit of a heavy blast effect, but it looks pretty neat. I don't know if it's something on this one, but if you look very closely here, you can see that it's not quite centered in the visor, and I can't seem to get it in there. I don't know if there's something jammed in the sculpt or what, but I'm not doing it upside down, am I? Like, is that it? Yeah, I was doing it upside down. So the grooved part is on the bottom, the flat part is the top, and it does lead to this nice big burst effect as if it is hitting something. This does come in two pieces, just so you know. So you can see there's a little peg here, and there's a little post in the blast effect, and it all just snaps together like that and looks pretty cool. And you can have this, smacking into something if you need to. I think it looks pretty good. Now, the blast effect had me interested because I was wondering if it would fit in other Cyclops' eyes, namely the X-Men 97 Cyclops. So this is the blast effect head, and sure enough, it doesn't quite fit as well as I was hoping it would, but you can make it fit. So it fits a little bit. It's not the most secure fit, and it's mostly because it is shaped to fit in this Cyclops' visor, but it can still, you can still kind of fudge it and get it in there. I should probably test it with some other Cyclops figures. I haven't just yet, but I did mention something about this Cyclops. One of the things, so in the Infinity Saga story, Infinity Gauntlet story, he did have the exposed hair, and it just so happens that I have an extra Cyclops head that I've had on this one for ages. My friend was saying how he wants this Cyclops with the exposed head. So to show you what that looks like, it looks like this. The head sits a little high and it's a little loose, but you know, if you have them just standing on a shelf, it'll serve the purpose that it needs to. I could honestly see Hasbro re-releasing this Cyclops at some point with the without the cowl, having the Cyclops hair floating freely. It wouldn't surprise me if we get that as like a 2-pack down the line with, I don't know, maybe a human beast or something, some way to get you to double up on this Cyclops. But overall, I think this is a pretty great figure. It's not my favorite of the bunch, and like I said, I don't even really plan on keeping it, but it is a pretty good one. Just to put the regular head back on it. And, if you are into buying Cyclops figures, this might be one that you want to get. You know, there is that Target exclusive Jean Grey that does fit very nicely with this as well. But that's all I really need to say about Cyclops. So let's move on to another character in the wave. Next up is the Extreme X-Men costume Wolverine. There was a lot of confusion when this figure was announced because it does look like the Ultimate X-Men Wolverine. This resembles his second Ultimate X-Men costume, but this is indeed his costume from the Extreme X-Men comic. A comic that actually really helped get me back into reading comics weekly. I'm not going to sit here and say it was the best comic ever, but at the time I wasn't reading a lot. Started picking this book up monthly, which started getting me into my local comic store weekly, and just kind of helped me really get back into a love of reading comics. Now, originally, I wasn't going to buy this figure because it doesn't come with a Build-A-Figure piece, and when Marvel Legends are running at $25 a pop, it seems a little silly to buy yet another Wolverine for a team that, I don't know, maybe the Marvel Legends team is never really going to build out all that much. They just needed to add another Wolverine to a wave, it felt like. But with this Wolverine, something about it caught my eye and made me want to pick it up. Now, I recently decided, with even the X-Men, who are my favorite branch of Marvel, I'm going to start cutting back a little bit. There was still something about this that really made me want to pick it up. Maybe even makes me want to complete that Extreme X-Men team if they start putting more figures out. But that's neither here nor there at the moment. Let's look at this Wolverine. And I honestly have to say, I am a little disappointed because we got a really nice Wolverine over the summer on a really cool body style, and it seems like they've just abandoned that one completely already. Granted, there is some unique sculpting on it, but this Wolverine is much more reminiscent of any type of Wolverine you might get for regular retail in the past, I don't know, 5 years. He is pinless, which is nice, but looking at him, you can see the nice yellow stripes on the suit. They get a little broken up when you move those butterfly joints, but it's, that's to be expected with the articulation of a figure. Nice X logo on his chest. Belt has some nice detailing. You move down to the boots, which have some nice straps to them. Look pretty good. Arms have the sculpted arm hair. You can feel it if you run your finger over it. And these claws, which I want to say are just like the X-Men 97 and Secret Wars Wolverine claws. They are a little, skinny, but they're nice and long, and they feel like they have some good, weight to them. Like, they don't feel like they're just going to snap off or something, so they do look pretty cool. In terms of articulation for this figure, his head is on a disc to a ball joint, but mine is very, clicky, and because of it, I'm having trouble getting Wolverine to look straight without his neck going like this, without it looking like he's, gagging on something. So it is making for a weird time posing this figure. I suppose I could crunch his abs forward a little bit and that would help. But yeah, that kind of bothers me a little bit. At the arms, you already saw the butterfly joints moving in and out. The arms themselves will move completely around and out. We do have rotation at the bicep, double jointed pinless elbow, and hands that will rotate and go in and out. And in case I didn't say it, because of the ball joint at the head, we get some wiggle waggle. This head is quite loose on mine. I don't know if it's just mine, but this thing is really Wolverine shouldn't be able to pose like that. I don't know if they just gave him a not great head, but it does seem a little silly. Moving down to the body, we do have rotation and ab crunch. As I mentioned, you can go back and forth. Down at the legs, we're going to move forward that much. Splits that much, a pretty good split if you look at it. I think that looks pretty good. And thigh rotation, double jointed pinless knee. And despite the fact that it looks like there should be, there is no boot cut. That bothers me. It looks like there should have been boot cut, but no, nothing there. So then we just get down to the foot, which is going to go up and down, and of course, pivot left and right, ankle tilt. So yeah, like, it is, I'm a little disappointed with his articulation and with the way the head moves. And like I said, it might just be my copy, but I am still a little disappointed with it. The other thing is that we got a plethora of extra hands with him, none of which have the claws. And it almost seems silly to give Wolverine anything more than just clawed hands and non-clawed fists. So here are the fists that don't have claws. You can see the nice detail on them. But then he also has the open splayed kind of hand, which does have the, clawed knuckle things on them. And then he also has this point hand, which also has the detail of that. Now, while it's nice that he comes with 3 sets of hands, I think another head, maybe a more neutral head, would have been nicer on this figure. That's just me. Maybe another set of clawed hands with the hands in a different position. I mean, it makes sense that he's going to have fists when his claws are out, but like, I don't know. Maybe something more different, expressive to a degree. And I did mention how I was a little disappointed that they've already kind of abandoned this Wolverine, this Astonishing X-Men Wolverine. This is a really cool figure, and it has some really neat articulation to it. I was kind of hoping that they would keep using this articulation style with Wolverine figures. Like I said, there are some keyed-in details here that you're not going to be easy to reuse. But it seems silly that they have this brand new Wolverine figure and none of it carried over to this Wolverine. That does seem a little weird to me. The next character that we're going to look at is the only single-carded villain from this wave. Of course, the Build-A-Figure is also a villain, but this is the only regular figure that is a villain. This is Fabian Cortez. Fabian Cortez is a member of the Acolytes. He's a figure who I'm happy I own. I'm happy we might start getting some Acolytes. I just don't know if I was necessarily asking for him. It is, to me, maybe important to start building out the Acolytes. They are an important kind of addition to the X-Men shelf. And I am happy to have him. And I guess it makes sense that he would be the first one we get. I think there are some repaint possibilities with this figure, but we'll get there. Bringing him in, you can see the nice purple and reds on him, and going down to these nice boots. We have the wrist guards here, leading down to the fist. We have this really cool armor piece, which the cape is attached to. And looking at his head, you have that nice, I don't know, like communicator headgear detail. It looks really cool. Even going back to the ponytail, you can see the little band holding it together. I was thinking maybe the ponytail moves, but it doesn't seem like I can pose it. I don't want to break it off, so I'm not going to keep playing with it. But he looks pretty cool, all things considered. One thing that I did want to make mention of, when I was a kid and I bought the original Toy Biz Marvel figures, but way before Marvel Legends was a thing, I had a figure of Senyaka, who is also an Acolyte. And because I had Senyaka, to me, he was like the most important Acolyte. I could see this body, this figure, getting reused and turned into other Acolytes like Senyaka down the road. You could easily make this silver, take away the cape, paint the arms purple up until the wrist guards, new head, boom, you got a Senyaka. You could do a lot of Acolytes like this. It wouldn't surprise me if they maybe give us a 2-pack with multiple head options so you could make a number of Acolyte characters. I kind of hope they don't go that way, because I don't want to have to maybe have like 2 of a unique character and then have to buy 2-packs to get different, versions of Acolytes. But cross that road when we get to it, kind of hoping it doesn't happen. Spinning him around real quick, though, just so you can see the cape does go all the way down. And, there's not a lot of detail, rather, on the back of him, so it's not like it's hiding anything. In terms of articulation, his head is on the disc to a ball joint, so you get up and down, you get left and right. And this ball joint also, much like that Wolverine, feels a little loose, but not to the point where it looks inhuman. At the arms, they can go all the way around. The elbow pad, armor piece kind of gets in the way, but you can go around it easily enough. He says as he's unable to get it to go all the way around. All right, moving along, we can have the arms move out that far. and we have rotation at the bicep, double jointed pinless elbow, and rotation here at the wrist with the hands that can go in and out like that. I was wondering if this piece was a separate piece overlaid onto the arm, but if you look at it, looks like it's molded onto it. I can't seem to get it off, nor does it rotate, so pretty sure this is a unique arm to that, or in that degree. Other characters may have had it, but unique to, just about everything else in this wave. At the body, we do have ab crunch forward, ab crunch back, and the paintwork does stay. It does look a little weird, but are you really going to have your character posed like this unless he's getting like punched out or something? Rotation at the waist. No belt on Cortez. I feel like some of the other acolytes may have had a belt. In terms of the legs, they're going to kick out forward that much. They are going to do a split that much. Rotation at the thigh. And double jointed pinless knee. He can also kick his own butt if you press it all the way. And then at the foot, we do have up and down and ankle tilts. Now on mine, it almost seems like these boots can move. Like they can wiggle just a little bit. Makes me think they were a separate piece, but I can't get them to rotate. And I don't know if mine are just stuck. It's not like it's overly cold in my review space here. So it's not like, the joints are frozen. I just can't get them to move. Thinking about it, I don't think I've seen anybody really twisting the boot on the figure. It might just be because if this is a separate piece, there's a little bit of give, but it would have been nice if this had some boot rotation. Like I said, only Cyclops in the entire wave has boot rotation. In terms of accessories, though, for Cortez, he does have his 2 fists right now. There's also a grip hand and this open kind of power hand. And for Cortez, I do like the idea of the power hand because his power is kind of about like boosting other mutants' powers and, absorbing energy and stuff like that. So I feel like that does look pretty good. He also comes with these 2 energy effects that they're like Iron Fist flame effects. They can fit over his fists. I've never pictured his power being like a fire energy blast like that. It's at least the way I've always seen it pictured has been more about absorbing and taking in energy and giving back energy. So I don't know if I'm necessarily going to display him with these. If you want to do it, you can just slide him over the hand like this. It fits. It looks okay. But like I said, I don't know if I'm going to put him on the shelf with that, although it doesn't look half bad now that I'm looking at it. I don't know if it's a great example of his power. Then again, I don't know how you would really get it to work. I think about X-Men the Animated Series, and they would kind of have like energy circles traveling up and down his arms. I'm sure someone out there could create something that would slide up and down his arm, be like an energy effect that, could fit like that, but that's neither here nor there. So that's Cortez. Since he came out of the 90s, let's look at another 90s character now. Let's take a look at, how about Husk? So here is Husk, otherwise known as Paige Guthrie, and this is how she comes out of the package. So she is Cannonball's sister. She eventually joins Generation X, and she has a mutant power in which she can peel off layers of her skin to reveal other layers of skin, whether they be there for, for protection or for, going on the offensive. It is an interesting power. It is pretty cool. This is the same exact body as the M figure that came out in the, the Chode wave? There's literally no difference here in terms of deco paint. The only thing that's different are the head and the hands. So if you've played with M before, you know exactly what you're getting. But just to show you this a little up close, here's the head, and I have seen people using this head on a civilian female body to kind of make like a Karen Page, which I think is a really good idea, from Daredevil. You have the cool X kind of zipper, which then ties into the accent on the chest. We have the nice Generation X belt. We have the really cool wrist pieces, which are, bubbled, whatever they're supposed to be. And then moving down to the legs, we have the boots again, carrying on that kind of bubbled look. And, everything else is just red. Moving around to the back, not a whole lot to say. Belt continues around the back. Looks pretty cool. Now, in terms of articulation for this figure, the head can move around. It is on a ball joint, just to show you what that looks like. It is, again, on a disc joint to a ball, and then the head can move around. The hair as you're probably used to, does kind of impact how much it can move, but you can still get some decent movement out of the head, out of this head. There's another head that we'll talk about. In terms of the rest of articulation, arms go all the way around. They go up that much. And this shoulder piece moves with the arm, which is nice. Rotation at the bicep and double jointed elbow, pinless as well. Wrists are going to be able to move around and move in and out. So basically what you've come to expect. At the body, however, we just have the one joint up here at the midsection. It does allow her to crouch back and forth and rotate and even go, tilt a little bit. It's not my favorite body style, but, I understand with that other, like the one that we have with Phoenix and Warbird and Dark Miss Marvel, those are like the premium version, if you will. So I don't know, if we're necessarily going to start seeing regular deluxe figure or regular figures with that, body style. Maybe we will, who knows. In terms of the legs, kicking forward this far, splits that far, rotation at the thigh, double jointed pinless knee, and like I've been saying, no boot cut, which is totally disappointing to me. Again, it seems like there should have been, even could have been, because this is a separate piece, but yeah, not really moving there. If anything, this is just an overlay, and this piece would rotate. At the foot, we get up and down, and we have ankle tilt as well. Now, her accessories are probably what makes her one of the most interesting figures in this wave. First off, she does have other hands. Right now, she's sporting a fist and a bit of a grip hand. She also just has another fist and a grip hand for, you can swap them out if you need to. Then she comes with this, and this is a piece of skin. And it's pretty gross. I'm not going to lie. Lately, Marvel Legends have had some kind of, especially with Bushwhacker, some kind of gross-looking things. This is supposed to be a piece of skin that she is ripping off to reveal a metal face. Now, the box art on this, on the character's box actually literally has this happening where she's ripping off skin to revealing, another layer underneath her skin that could help her, in battle. And this looks like it's metal, so it could be like an armor. I've seen people already sticking this head on like a Jocasta figure, so it looks like she's a fully armored, fully metal-bodied person, almost like Colossus. And I think that is a really cool idea. However, I do feel like this head is a little more expressive, so I am going to swap them out. To give us this look, and I think that looks really cool. I think that looks awesome. You can then put the piece of skin in her hand. You can kind of loop her finger into the hole if you want, and have it something like this, so it looks like she's peeling it off her face, which I think is a very cool look. This is a very unique way to display a figure. And I might leave her on my shelf like this. When I first saw the pictures, I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to display her ripping the skin off. But now that I have it in hand and I'm doing it, it looks pretty cool. Like, just to have that on a shelf, I think it makes Husk look pretty tough. It makes her look kind of badass, in my opinion. I always thought Husk was a neat character. So to see her on the shelf looking like this, I think is really cool. And I think a lot of people were expecting a Husk to come out, especially after that M. It seemed like such an easy reuse of that body. And I like this body. I wish it had boot cut, but it does look pretty cool. So let's move Husk to the back, and now let's look at another character from the 90s. Let's take a look at Marrow. Now, I can't speak for everyone, but I know when I see Marrow, I think of two things. I think of Marvel vs. Capcom, and I also think the mid-90s, when they introduced her, added her to the X-Men team, and books like comic magazines like Wizard Magazine made a big deal about it. Her, Maggot, and Dr. Reyes, they were promoting as like the new X-Men, and it was supposed to be so cool and such a big deal. And I feel like they didn't all really last that long. But here is the new Marrow figure. She looks really cool. This is good if you have a 90s shelf. It's good if you have a Marvel vs. Capcom shelf. And she looks just phenomenal. I think this might be one of my favorite figures in the wave. Really cool bone detail on her rib cage, going down her body, to the exposed midsection. We have these neat bone details on her knees, almost like knee guards, if you will. She does have the glove cuffs on her arms, which are a separate piece. So, you can move them so that you don't see like the skin sticking through. I just kind of popped it forward. On her back, we have the really cool bone spinal detail and these bone details. These don't come off, but they still look very good. We also have this nice golden belt that goes around her body and nice gold accents around her shoulders. The head also looks really cool. Has that, I don't know, marrow look, what you would probably expect. And the skin tone does indeed have her like pinkish kind of skin tone. So I think that looks really, really neat. In terms of articulation, yes, her head is on a slider to a ball joint, so you can look way up, way down. I know you can get her into some really cool crouching positions. Otherwise, the head will look left and right, and, little wiggle waggle in there as well. Arms are going to go all the way around. Bones get in the way a little bit, but not tremendously much. Arms go up, rotation at the shoulder, double jointed, pinless elbow, and of course, at the wrist, we do have full rotation and in and out movement. I would have liked to have seen maybe some up and down for some of the other accessories she has that we'll talk about in a few moments. Again, ball joint at the midsection, so you can get all that movement. And she does have some deep bend there, at least back. Not a ton forward, but for the poses you might want her in, the back might be the way to go. Now, one thing that I was playing with before the review, it almost looks like her stomach here was supposed to have articulation. It definitely seems like it's its own piece that just kind of is shoved into the waist piece. And I was trying to see if there is any articulation. I don't think there is, and I don't want to rip the figure apart, but just be aware, it seems like there is definitely a little bit of something here. Maybe not movement, but maybe it's just the way the figure was put together. In terms of legs, forward, this far. Splits, really far. Thigh rotation, double jointed pinless knee. And not quite able to kick her own butt, but still pretty far back. Foot has, of course, forward facing pin for up-down movement and ankle rockers. No boot cut, but I really do like I said, how the bones act as like a knee guard. That or knee pad almost. That looks really, really cool. In terms of accessories, Marrow has like a open karate chop hand, if you will, and a fist. So, left fist, right karate chop hand. I do like the holding hands because she also has these two bone sword accessories. Now, they are a little floppy. They're not very hard plastic, so, be careful where you store them. You don't want them to bend. I was hoping they might be able to store on her as well, like on her back, and you could pull them off. They can't, but it's not really a deal breaker for me. Now, to put them in her hands, you just kind of have to open her hands up a little bit and slide them in. And there we go. She's holding it. Now, I will say I found that the left hand was a lot easier to get the bone weapon into than the right hand before. When I was playing with this initially, I was having some trouble getting the right one to stay in. Let's see if I can get it to stay on camera now. Yeah, see how it keeps, it popped out for a second, now it's in here. So just be aware, you might have to kind of futz with it a little bit in order to get it to stay in place. But overall, really like the look of this figure. Really like the way she moves, and I know that I can get her in a ton of really cool poses. I'm not going to spend a tremendous amount of time posing her out now, because I still have other figures in the wave to get to, but I did want to compare her to another 90s look. Let's go with Cable, and, maybe this is two characters that appeared in a game. I think they look pretty cool together. All right, well, now that we've looked at Marrow, I think it's time to move over to the Age of Apocalypse. So let's take a look at Gambit. So here is the Age of Apocalypse Gambit, which comes in this wave. I'm kind of glad we're still getting Age of Apocalypse figures. In fact, I'm very glad we're still getting Age of Apocalypse figures. Maybe it doesn't need to be a full wave, but I'm glad we're still getting them. There's still a few more characters I would like to see from the Age of Apocalypse get made into Marvel Legends. And here is Gambit. I think he looks fantastic. I was actually debating working on a custom Age of Apocalypse Gambit. This saves me some time and some paint. Looking at this figure, though, it is definitely a different look for Gambit. You can tell it's him once you look at the head, though. Of course, we have those nice piercing red eyes with the black, behind them. He doesn't have the head sock, but he does have a headband, and then the hair is a little scruffy looking. This could also work for like a later era Gambit, because I feel like eventually he ditches the head sock and then eventually he gets it back, but that's besides the point. He has the nice red cape that you can see draped around him. It is not connected to anything though, so it does kind of just flop about, so just be aware of that. Have the nice like leather details running up and down the arms into, of course, full gloves. We have a nice belt with the silver buckle. Looking at the back of it, it is just more, can we see that? It's just more brown. There's not a whole lot of paintwork there. Little ribbon on the leg here at the thigh. Also has knee pads, much like Maro did, which I think look very cool. Moving down to these brown boots, which have some details on them. You can see like the 3 rings on here, the 1 on here. And again, looking at these boots, hey, they should probably have boot cut. Yeah, they don't. They're stuck there. And that is a very, very odd choice to me. Anyway, looking at the articulation, head is on a slider to a ball joint, just like everyone else, up, down, left, right, and, like that, little bit of wiggle and waggle in there as well. The cape doesn't really get in the way of the left arm. It's going to get in the way more of the right arm. But because it's just free-flowing, you can easily get that arm around. Just know it's going to look like he's drowning in his cape. Arms are going to move out that far with full rotation at the bicep. And, of course, a double-jointed pinless elbow. Hands will rotate around and in and out. And this hand also does the in and out. Again, like Mara, I would have liked it if they could have pointed up and down because of one of his weapons that we'll get to. For the body, we do have ab crunch forward and ab crunch back. There we go, that far. Doesn't really break up the look of the figure. We do have waist rotation, and I tried seating the belt lower, but no matter how low I get it, it's not enough to really allow the belt to move. So the belt's always going to move on the higher up kind of side. Legs are going to go forward this far. They're going to split out that far. Looks pretty good. Thigh, of course, will rotate. And the knee is a double jointed pinless knee. Like I said, no boot cut, which is disappointing, but the feet will move up and down, and we do have ankle rockers. So I'm saying the same thing over and over again in terms of articulation. But this Gambit, I'm happy with him. In terms of accessories, he does come with his pole, which the right hand can hold. Like I said, it would have been nice if he could have pointed with this, but instead we do have in and out. And you can still put this into some neat poses. I kind of had it behind him before when I initially took him out. So it could be something that he's like going to whip out at the bad guys. You can have him hold this however you want, but this is an accessory we've gotten with other Gambits before, so it might be something you're used to. This hand is definitely like the card holding hand, and he doesn't come with any flaming cards. He instead comes with these 2 brown fists. So there is a right and a left fist. And, easy to swap them out. In fact, I think I'm going to swap out the card hand for just the fist. There we go. One of the things that I'm a little bummed out about is in the Age of Apocalypse, Gambit and the Externals, whatever they were tasked with finding the Emkron crystal. It would have been nice if maybe he came with like an Emkron crystal replica. Because that would have worked in a bunch of displays. I could have stuck that with my Lalandra. I could have stuck that with my Starjammers. It didn't necessarily have to be with Gambit. I would have liked that option. The other thing that I want to say is, I think Age of Apocalypse Gambit also had like a knife at the end of his staff. And I kind of wish we got that detail. I seem to remember that for some reason. If I'm wrong, please let me know in the comments. But I feel like I remembered a knife on his staff. So there we go. We'll put Gambit back here. And I think that just brings us to the last regular figure in the wave. It is the Age of Apocalypse and X-Force Nightcrawler. And here is the X-Force Nightcrawler just kind of standing here. Now, full disclosure, this is the same Nightcrawler body that is the X-Men 97 Nightcrawler body. It's also the same as the, was it the Caliban wave Nightcrawler? I forget what wave that Nightcrawler was in. Wendigo, maybe? It's the same. They just, make it pinless. Even reuse of heads. He doesn't have the X-Men 97 head, which I'm okay with. I didn't really like that head. This one, luckily, comes with a lot of different hands and a sword that he can actually hold. That was my biggest complaint with the 97 Nightcrawler. is that he didn't come with a sword or a hand to hold that sword. Luckily, I had enough fodder in my bins where I was able to give him a hand to hold it and a sword. So one of the cool things about this Nightcrawler is I did say he is from the Age of Apocalypse and he's from X-Force. Yes, this is indeed an Age of Apocalypse Nightcrawler. The Age of Apocalypse Nightcrawler was pulled into the main Marvel Universe and joined up with Uncanny X-Force. So this could work as on an Age of Apocalypse shelf. It can work on an Uncanny X-Force shelf. I'm going to put it on the Uncanny X-Force shelf because the Age of Apocalypse costume that he wore in the regular Age of Apocalypse story is very reminiscent to your regular Nightcrawler look. Does that make sense? Look it up online. Anyway, here is the figure. Love that he has the scar on his head there, on his face. Otherwise, we have our grays and blacks and whites with a nice big red X. And, that pattern continues down. It is pretty much Nightcrawler in stealth colors, if you will. Looks really cool. Tail, of course, coming out the back looks neat. You can see where the detail is there from, the other past Nightcrawlers, but it looks fine because, honestly, he was drawn like that. In terms of articulation, disjoint to a ball joint head. Head's going to move up and down, left, right, all the stuff that I've covered with just about every other figure you see standing behind him. Arms are going to move way out or way up, and they can fully rotate even with the shoulder pads here. They are pretty soft, so they get out of the way. We do have double jointed pinless elbow, and at the hands, they will rotate. And this one will go in and out. I'm trying to think, do any of them... The sword-holding hand, which I'll show off again in a little bit, does do the up and down. So you can point the sword, which I am so happy to see. I think that's so great. We'll get to his accessories later on, though. Body, forward, just like this. Back, way back. You can really have him bend. And then, of course, twist at the midsection. Legs are going to go forward and out. Let me move that tail like that. Rotation at the thigh. Double jointed knee. It is pinless. He can kick his own. He's actually going quite high. He's kicking his own back. No boot cut, even though it looks like there could have been boot cut right here. But then, of course, the feet do move up and down. And we have ankle pivot. Added bit of articulation is his tail. It can swing. So I normally tend to end up posing it like to the side like this. I think that looks pretty cool. Now, with his accessories, I've already kind of been talking about it, but he comes with a sword, and it looks great. It's done up in black, the handle. Rest of it is done up in silver. He does have other hand options, namely fists. Two fists. And the grip hand for the sword. The grip hand is his right hand. I'm going to pop that out and put in the grip hand for the sword, which I said does move up and down. And then, of course, you just have to put the sword into the hand, and it fits nice and snugly and securely. It's not really going to go anywhere, and you can have him point this. Now, the X-Force Nightcrawler, the Age of Apocalypse Nightcrawler, was always a bit more serious of a character. Our regular 616 Kurt is like a happy-go-lucky kind of elf. Can be serious when he needs to be. But the X-Force one was not a happy camper. So I always pictured him as kind of being a rough and tumble individual. So I think I'm going to give him a fist rather than an open hand. I really would have liked it if they gave him two sword hands and maybe, have him be able to dual wield swords. I would really love it if we ever get like a Maximum Marvel Legends Nightcrawler, if they give us different tail options and maybe you have a pose tail holding a sword so he could have 3 swords. I think that'd be great. But the other thing with this Nightcrawler, he does come with an angry head. The eyes are red on this one, still have the red scar there. And I'm going to put this on because I think it just looks so much better and makes him look that much angrier. And I think that looks completely fantastic. Really, really liking this Nightcrawler. Very happy to have it. I had made a custom a number of years ago. It was one of the first customs I ever made. Totally getting replaced by this one. This looks fantastic. But these are all the regular figures in the wave. It's time to look at that Build-A-Figure. Here is our Build-A-Figure. They're calling it Nemesis on the package. If you read the Uncanny X-Force comics, you know that this is actually a character called Genocide. I think a lot of people think that this is also Holocaust from the Age of Apocalypse, later called Nemesis. It's not. They're different characters. This is genocide, and I'm sure they couldn't put the word genocide on a package, so they just called him Nemesis, which is fine. But I'm going to be calling him genocide for the rest of this review as I knock down characters behind me. There we go. There we go. Just got everybody situated. The detail on this is incredible. You do have my light source kind of shining off of it, but you can see this domed helmet with the skeleton head inside, and you can pose this. You just got to pop the helmet off, which is relatively easy. And the head, just to show, it does move around, and the jaw is articulated, so you can make him look like he's yelling or screaming. But yeah, such a neat effect, and the fire coming out, it looks really, really cool. And then the helmet, just again, it attaches on. There are a couple just tabs you just have to line up, and you can stick in, and it looks so cool. Really neat orange kind of details moving down that you can line up to be, connecting to the body, to these softer parts, looking at the legs, very robotic mech suit kind of design. Left hand, just, a cool arm. Right hand, giant cannon with a tube that connects on it. This tube is also a soft kind of plastic material. It is flexible. It is not going to be a hard piece that's going to inhibit his movement. It still might pop off at times. It has while I've been posing it, but it does look cool. And again, really cool spinal detail in the back. These tube pieces sticking off. This is a phenomenal Build-A-Figure. It almost doesn't look like it should be part of Marvel Legends. I'm so glad it is, though. I already showed you that the head moves. The arms will rotate. This arm will rotate fully around. This arm can, but if you have the tube connected, it's going to disconnect. So watch how much you're moving it. Otherwise, the arms are going to be able to move out like this. We do have rotation at the bicep. Arm's going to go back in. These are double jointed elbows. They are a little hard to see, but you can get the bend going. Hang on. It's also a little hard to get both joints to bend, but this one bends, and then even on the right hand, the gun hand, you can get that bend going. You just kind of have to work it, but it does. They do bend. They do look phenomenal. The right arm, no other articulation on the arm, but of course we do have hand articulation on the left arm. Hand spins, moves in and out. He also has an interchangeable hand, an open hand, and I think I might like the look of that better. So we'll swap that out in a little bit. At the body, though, rotation up here at the midsection, which is forward and back and around. No other rotation, but he can tilt. So, decent amount of movement. Legs are going to kick forward and split that much. Rotation at the thigh. The armor bit moves with it, which I think looks really cool because that moves around the leg. You do have a double jointed knee. And you have ankle, actually, so this is really cool. You do have ankle movement, you have ankle tilt, and you have ankle rotation. This whole bottom piece rotates. So while there's no boot cut, the feet will rotate. I think that's pretty nice. They definitely put a lot of time and a lot of effort into this Build-A-Figure. I think he looks really, really good. We're going to pull off Nemesis, or now I'm saying Nemesis, Genocide's hand to swap out that other hand, just so you can see how it looks. I kind of like that. I think it looks like the, it's like the power hand, right? Like he or maybe he's singing. Now it looks like he's about to break out into song. But I do like this one, and I really think that this is going to look very, very cool on my X-Men villain shelf. But now that I have the entire wave out, I think I should rank them from my favorite to, well, let's start my least favorite and move up from there. So my least favorite of the bunch probably is Wolverine. Now that I've opened him and I've messed around with him, I do kind of regret buying him. I don't know if I'm necessarily going to finish out an Extreme X-Men team if one should be made. But, I bought him. Feel like there's a lot that could have been better about this figure. He does have some positives. He's not the worst figure I've ever seen, but he's definitely not the best. I think my second favorite figure or my next in the list would be the Cyclops. Like I said, I'm not even keeping this one. I am passing this off to a friend. But, it looks okay. I'm just kind of tired of buying so many Cyclops and Wolverine variants that the costumes, for costumes that might not mean all that much to me. And that's kind of where I'm at with this one. It's a cool costume, just not my favorite. So, he is next. Coming in for next in the wave, I think I'm going to give it to Age of Apocalypse Gambit. And I like this one. Like I said, I was working on a custom Age of Apocalypse Gambit. But there's something about the cape not fitting all that well that kind of bothers me. Maybe we could have had some different accessories. And like I said, I feel like there's supposed to be a knife at the end of this pole that I think really would have gone a better way if, would have made it just a little nicer. And again, not a bad figure. No, I don't think anyone here is a bad figure. I want that to be said. I'm just ranking them now from, top to bottom to top. Next would be, I'm going to say Cortez. I like Cortez. I think it opens up a lot of repaint possibilities. I think it opens up a lot of soon-to-be acolytes for your shelf, but he would be, I guess, kind of the middle. Following that would be Nightcrawler. Really do like this Nightcrawler. Very happy we got him, but again, it is just a repaint at the end of the day, so there's that. I think it's safe to say that number 3 is going to be Husk. Really like the way that they pulled off her power. Really like just the simple reuse of the M body. Look, give me more Generation X. We have Chamber, we have M. Give me an Emma Frost in that look. I'm reusing or repurposing the blue Banshee as my Generation X Banshee. You can give me another Banshee from Generation X, but give me Skin, give me Penance, give me all of them. Give me Jubilee in the Generation X costume. I think next it's safe to say it is Marrow. She is very cool, looks really awesome, a lot of neat detail, and definitely a figure that I'm glad to have, especially after wanting her for quite a while in the Marvel Legends line. I'm glad we finally got her, and I'm sure our gamer friends who want to have a Marvel vs. Capcom shelf are happy that she is out. Something tells me we're going to be seeing more Marvel vs. Capcom figures later in the year if those leaks have any truth to them. Which means number 1 is, of course, the Genocide Build-A-Figure. Definitely one of the more unique Build-A-Figures that we've gotten in recent memory, and just a really, really cool figure. So let me know your rankings. I'd love to hear about them. Let me know what you think of this X-Men wave. Did you get everyone? Did you skip anyone? Wouldn't blame you if you did. Like I said, I almost didn't get the Wolverine. But otherwise, pretty fun wave. Love to hear your opinions on it. Remember, you can check out the Rock Nerd Radio Show podcast on your preferred podcast platform. It is a weekly show hosted by me and my good friend and co-host Vinny, where we talk about all aspects of pop culture. We would love it if you joined us over there. So until next time, thanks for tuning in. I've been Dan. You've been pretty awesome, and I'll see you around.